we're good.
Okay,
It's setting up the meeting. I'm
now
going
streaming live.
to. Okay, there's YouTube.
Yeah, it's live streaming on YouTube. It's what it's saying on this end. Everything else is working. So here we go.
Take it away,
Ron,
Ron.
Ron, you're muted. Everybody else should be muted, and then Ron.
Right. Okay, so can you hear me?
He's the MC. We hear you.
Yep.
Okay, so welcome to Musicians for the Greater Good. This Land is Our Land concert series. This is a series that began right after the Democratic Convention and will continue until a new president has been achieved. A new presidency has been achieved. Our concerts are intended both to provide an opportunity for social justice and protest singer-songwriters and spoken word artists to express themselves in relationship to the very challenging time that we live in. The concerts are also intended to be a benefit for the Biden-Harris presidential campaign. And you can donate by going to our website, which I'm holding up here, musiciansforthegreatergood.org. And on the website itself, there'll be a donate button, and you can make your contribution to the Biden-Harris campaign. So far, we've raised over $3,000, and we hope to do more before we're finished. So tonight, our headline feature for this evening is Reggie Gibson, someone who I've had the privilege of working with ever since the start of the dreaded Trump era. Reggie and I collaborated. He was a headliner on a concert that we produced. It was called the People's Inauguration Concert, intended to be some alternative for people who didn't want to attend the Trump inauguration. He also engaged with Musicians for the Greater Good last year when we did a Get Out the Vote campaign at Bunker Hill Community College. But more importantly, he is the National Poetry Slam individual champion of the United States. He has widely performed both in the US, Cuba, and Europe. He has worked with a number of distinguished artists, including folks like Mark Strand, David Amram, the monks of the Deepeng Gamong Monastery, Kurt Vonnegut, and others. And he's really a great, inspiring spoken word artist to listen to. So everybody is in for a treat. And I'm privileged to turn the mic over to Reggie Gibson, our first performer for this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. It's good to be back with you and to be in brother and sister and othership, siblinghood with people out there who want to make this country what it should be, but never has quite gotten to be. This is another historic night, and it's a night that I think is going to produce a lot of energy for us to try to turn the ship of state around. Two people, Ron, I hate to correct you so early in the program, but I am a former National Poetry Slam champion. I don't know who it is right now, but I'm sure that they're holding it up pretty well. When I play a little something for you, when I was in Chicago as a kid, I grew up in a very religious home, but my mind wanted to find a way to bridge both a spiritual belief and intellect. And I came across the writings of two cats when I was about 15 years of age, and that was Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson. And they were bridging for me a spiritual way of walking through the world, as well as using one's reason and one's brain and one's intellect, so that you can walk through this world as more of a healing agent rather than a disease. I got the feeling that there's probably at least a couple of commander-in-chiefs that have probably not read those two gentlemen who actually tried to teach us how to be better Americans. And this is for them. Henry Thoreau told civilization, yo, I gotta go, baby. I needs a vacation. So he went out to Walden, whereupon he got this revelation. Whoa, so many of us live lives of quiet desperation. Lo and behold, another old quotation seems to capture the essence of a modern American vexation. It's like Thoreau knew that in the future you and I would have to act in radical ways to mitigate the sad fact that because we've got to slave to keep our bills paid, sometimes it seems our minds are kind of ripe to get played by the vultures in our culture who are hoping to withhold us from anything any deeper than work while we scold ya, buy what we told ya, pay what you owe, and we'll ensure you've got a debt you will never get over. Treating human beings like we're merely skin machines, where the cash is some sick profiteers' demographics, like we're puppets made of plastic, molded and then mastered, stretched thin as thread until we're bled dead into our caskets. Yes, we try to contrast it by coming off sarcastic, but the situation we're facing we know is so drastic. Many of us want to huff and puff and snort stuff to get blasted, hoping to deaden the pain that remains of our constantly kicked asses. But we find that action makes the masses want to act more passive, keeping their minds inactive to the plans of all those fascists who want to keep you and me separated into races and genders and classes, because that's the way you maintain the status quo status as is. But don't let them head fake you, shake and bake and back break you down to the ground, come around, clown and undertake you. You got to fight back. And my advice is use whatever music and poetry you got inside you as your weapon. Do you dig? 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 I hope you dig. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a brilliant thinker and decidedly was the dawn amongst New England transcendentalists. He thought we all should become self-reliant existentialists, which means we should learn to trust our very own experience and not rely upon preconceptions that we've inherited like social, cultural, racial, gender, and political prejudice. And he said we should beware of demagogic fundamentalists. Dig the way Ralph Waldo kicked that 19th century rhetoric. To be yourself in a world that constantly tries to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Be patient with yourself. Every great artist was once an amateur, and your character is of more value than your intellect. And guess what? For every minute you spend being angry, you are going to lose 60 seconds of happiness. But the goal of life is not necessarily to be happy, but to be useful and have your life make some kind of difference. Now, it won't be easy for any of us to do any of this, because what it's going to require is we all make a mental shift toward a broader vision and a broader consciousness, and listen to that higher self within, the one that insists that we love, play, chant, meditate, and then dance. Yo, sometimes you gotta let go and learn to take a chance on becoming something other than we've been convinced we can be. I'm talking real human beings, not these human bling things. I know the world can be an enemy whose mission be to empty you of empathy, intelligence, and energy, then come around and destroy whatever joy you got left, beat you down and make you want to give up your last breath. But don't let them head fake and shake and bake and back break you down to the ground. Come around, clown, and undertake you. You gotta fight back. And my advice is use whatever music and poetry you got inside you as your weapon. Do you dig? 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 Thank you.
Oh, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You should be listening to those people even more so now. Do more time? I have a couple more.
Yeah,
Do I have to?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what I would like to do now is I'm going to read a piece and then end it with a video, if that's okay. Hopefully I won't take too much time. We know that there has, I do a lot of work with my students, and we do things based upon demographics, how we're seen in the world, and what we claim that we are. And we with my classes, we try to go through the understand. I try to get them the understanding that whatever you claim you are, there's a political connection to it. Whatever you claim yourself to be most proud of who you are, there's a politics that you are stating. Whenever you walk through this world like an exclamation mark, you are going to invite people to come at you. When you walk through the world as a question mark, you're going to invite people to question you. So it's about claiming who we are, understanding who we are in this situation that we've all inherited, and then trying to move through the best way we can, as broken as we may be. This is from one of my identities, and this is a piece. It's just called Black Fathers. To be a black father is to fear you will outlive your children. It is to want to cut the hoods off their hoodies and rip the do-rags from their skulls. Black fathers know their daughters, no matter how formidable their intellects, still need to feel beautiful and loved in a world that hates their skin. A world that tells them to keep their thick lips tucked in. Black fathers are too aware of how history haunts this country. That it is a specter so terrifying to look at that most whites won't. So he watches them run from it, hide inside a frail patriotic nostalgia and fragile misremembrance of the selves they never were. Watch the black father at a traffic stop. Know that he feels the overseer's whip lashing behind the police officer's eyes. Know that he can read the word nigger scratched into the back of his brain. See the black father tell his children to make their hands visible, so he keeps looking at the cop's gun-petting hand stroke the handle as if it were a dog, frothing at the mouth, straining in anticipation of being unleashed on the threat the black father's advanced degree and educated diction cannot help him from having become. Listen to how carefully the black father announces his intentions, how measured his voice as he over-enunciates every action that will cause his hands to leave the steering wheel. Look at how his white and Asian friends' eyes dart nervously at each other when he tells them about this over rye Manhattan cocktails and crafted IPAs. Know that it is times like this the black father seeks the solace of black music. Wants to crawl inside some sound that understands him like a grandmother's all-knowing bosom. So the black father gives jazz to his children, exhausts himself telling them that it is a metaphor for how they must live, how they must improvise on the tune they were given, and how, when they dance, their black feet must never miss a beat, for there are those trying to trip them up and then blame them for their own falling. Watch closely as the black father guides his children through the alto ache of the gospel singer's voice, stitches for them the story of how it was birthed from manacle and rape, Jesus an auction block, tells them how he still loves and treasures that broken beatitude, even though it bends toward a heaven he no longer believes in, and praises a God of chains he now devoutly doubts. Black fathers, watch out for which well-meaning white middle-class feminist values will get in the way of raising black sons. Watch out for which ones tell them they are what's wrong with this world because everything's wrong in their heads. Black fathers, watch white mothers raise sons that grind black bones to make white bread. Black fathers are always anxious about being wrongly incarcerated, absent, dead. To be a black father is to live like two bruised fists. Have it be a given that you do not exist. To always be looked over. To be careful of how much you insist. It is to never worry about being overestimated or getting too much rest at all. Because, well, you've learned to sleep with one eye open when your back is against the wall. Thank you. And we will end it with this. This is a video that was put together by a group I play with called Atlas Soul. It was the musicians who you'll see is the first person is Steve Davis on bass, who was very instrumental in making this video happen. And then there's also Zeke Martin on drums. Jacques Pardo is going to be on horn. Perry Bakalos is going to be on guitar, and me on vocals. And this is in the vein of what you just heard, but it's some music put to it. And in the end, it's a warning for what we must look out for as a country. So here we go. Hands up, legs spread. Did you hear what I just said? Don't move a muscle, boy, or for sure you're gonna end up dead. Put your hands on the steering wheel where I can see them. 1 at 10, 1 at 2. Don't give me any look, don't give me any lip, don't give me any excuse to shoot. Not like I need one, cause son, you and I, we both know the truth is that the average white American out here don't really give a damn what I do, as long as they can convince themselves someone looking like me in blue is doing his best to protect them from somebody who was looking like you. Assume the position. Assume the position. Assume the position. Assume the position. Legs spread has historically been said to entire nations that have ever let the sickness of fascism spread like some kind of virus growing inside its entire body politic. And it's no coincidence it begins with ranting racist rhetoric and then progresses to the mistreatment of certain minorities and immigrants, which then plays to the prejudices hidden in the mind of a preponderance of its citizens. Then dark history begins again, and those in them that swear it cannot happen here, you'd be surprised how quickly they rise and assume the position. Assume the position. All throughout history they assume the position. When will we learn that denying others human rights is only gonna put our own in the rifle's sights? The very notion of American liberty is only guaranteed if it's enforced equally. But to do this is gonna take a civic nut, gut, and ovary to keep a country from giving into tyranny. But if we find we don't have that kind of commitment, then get ready to assume the position. Assume the position. You heard what I said. Now assume the position. Thank you all for listening to that. That was a tune. It was our take on a tune by called "Assume the Position" by Lafayette Gilchrist. And so, thank you for indulging me, and I hope I didn't take too much of your time. Thank you, Ron. Thank you for everyone.
Thank you, Reggie. That was
Certainly.
funny. Really wonderful.
Ron, you're muted.
Ron, you're muted.
Fun.
Can you hear me now? Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. So Reggie will be back at the end of this show to wrap it up. So stay tuned for that. And I'd like to move on and introduce our next spoken word artist, Dan Zampino, whom I've had the pleasure of hearing several times over the past couple of months as we've both participated in the Catbird Open Mic series on Saturdays. He's an awesome poet who really digs into the politics of this era. But I just discovered that he is also a lawyer and a stone sculptor who does really incredible art objects. When I was researching this show, I went on and looked at some of Dan's sculptures, and they are really awe-inspiring. He's traveled around the world in search of inspiration, incorporating his experiences into his art and poetry. And he's performed as a spoken word artist widely throughout the Boston area. So I'd like to give a good Musicians for the Greater Good welcome to Dan Zampino.
Yay, Dan.
All right, Dan. Great to see you, my friend.
Okay, thank you. First, I want to mention that I saw Reggie on television many years ago, and I thought, my God, he is phenomenal. He is still the slam poet champion, as far as I'm concerned. Also, being on the stage with Reggie Gibson is daunting. I also want to thank everyone who's asked me to be a part of this. This is an extraordinary experience to be engaged with. In Joe Biden's acceptance speech, he mentioned we are in the middle of a number of crises: racial crisis, an environmental crisis, an economic crisis, and a pandemic. So I am going to focus on the pandemic of this. I thought I would write a poem and recite a poem based upon seeing the world through the eyes of the virus. And so I wrote a poem I call this a melodrama in 4 acts or follies, the Corona Follies. These are the viruses that have been, this is the virus or in its iterations that has gone around the world and taken advantage of human stupidity. Corona Follies. I am an unknowable number. I am the x-determinant in a quadratic equation. I am the failure in your mask. I am mystery, the playing of the percentages, the likelihood in a calculation that tells you if you stay too close to me, you might live long enough to give corona to someone you love. I am devious. I infect millions, and nothing happens to them. Then they don't know that they are like a walking menace. It is my trick to make someone snide because he shows no symptoms, and so he wants this to the end of the world. He wants to work like he used to eat hamburgers in a hamburger joint. I am a lottery, a spin of the bottle, a false hope, a game of chance. Good fortune, bad fortune, opening the floodgates, allowing a virus of me to penetrate your eyes. You might even lose your eyes. Still, students of me tell me only 2 out of 3 show any signs of my presence. I am subversive. I cast aspersions on expressiveness of warmth and joy. I dare you to hug your neighbor or sing in church, for you might kill in the name of God. Invisible I am except to the shrewdest of microscopes. I am incalculable. My paradox, you don't believe that I am me until I take away your lungs or your liver or your spleen or your heart. I tell you I'm like the old-fashioned flu. I tell you I'm like the common cold. And when you read that the dead lay in the streets like fallen debris, why do you not protest? I lie to you. I am a liar. Have you no idea of my cruelty? I'm like any other coronavirus. That's my lie to you. When I finally speak truth, you don't know the difference. You say I am the fault of someone else, that I came from another country, another city. But I don't care about countries or cities, only lungs and bloodstreams that I call my sanctuaries. This is why I find you are stupider than me. You won't credit me for the thousands of the hundreds of thousands. You refuse your own count, which you change according to your whim. But I still keep killing you. I am very subversive. I get you to disavow my power, since I hear you telling everyone you know I get too much credit for the carnage. My numbers are greater than I make them out to be, but you tell me I am boasting. This is the first of your corona follies. I am genius for tangling up your tongue in fake claims that I am less lethal than I am. I am genius for making you stupid, more stupid than you think you are. I am genius for driving you mad so that you show up boys with guns at the Michigan State House and wave fake flags of freedom. I am genius for gathering you together in tight, incurable packs of unmasked protests, as I and my trillions leap lung to lung, heart to heart, kidney to kidney, in trapezing delight, and as you cheer, end the lockdown. Loud breaths form double helix matrix trails for me and my comrades, like gymnasts, to swing in jungle form from overheated body to overheated body. I dance a dance of microbial jubilation. Shout infectious shouts in your state house rallies. The louder you scream, the greater I become. I crest on your trails of comforting breaths. I mingle septic sweetness in your indignation. It's sweet seedlings for your new infections find virgin earth in the gullies of malcontented throats. Your words are infectious. Your outrage is a microbial blessing, standing for liberty. But I am not liberty. Give me liberty and give me death. I am the virus. An actuarial table measures my greatness. I am carnivorous. I am a warrior. The closeness of your breaths reminds me of my greatness. You can make microbes great again. This is the second of your corona follies. In panting perspiration, unmasked girls unfurl banners promoting fraudulence of vaccines, their breathing circulating in swirls of microbial intoxication. I and my trillions can sniff joy between unvaccinated breaths as melodorous as the Greek geysers in Yellowstone. The girls' infested lungs are the gentlest of my conquests. Acclaiming the free reign of who I am, there are no nationalities to an infected lung. I am amorphous. I am ubiquitous. I am the firmament. The sun rises over my carnage. I am the coughing at the end of a living life. I am saliva rivulets, arousing the sweating and fevers that catapults from the girls hoisting unvaccinated banners to the jaunty boys with guns, comrades of an infected militia. I am the faulty ventilator. I am the exdeterminate. I am the unity of man, body by sweaty body, in sweetened proximity to every city in the world, where protests arouse my trillions to roost in the lungs, in the kidneys, in the brains, in the bowels, in the blood, in the festering union of presidents of the United States, of the People's Republic of China, of the Republic of Brazil, of Mother Russia, world leaders who promote the seedling of my proliferation. This is the third of your corona follies. I am the virus. When you meet me in state house pavilions, in the torpor of gymnasiums, in the squalor of incarceration, in the decrepitude of a nursing home, or in a ghetto, a meat processing plant, in shelters, schools, courtrooms, grocery stores, celebrate my dispersal. I need you to become social, corporate, to wage war as soldiers in union against other soldiers, to become schoolbound, to make use of bathrooms, bedrooms in the throes of adulterous romance, to pray and work together, to protest science and the magic of vaccines. I am the number of infections you will never know, because you don't want to know and are willing to change the numbers. I am invisible. I am judgment. I am life. I am death. I am nature itself. I am what happens when you ignore me. I am truth. the thing that bonds you to the earth itself. To fail to honor this is the greatest Corona folly of all. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Very nice, Dan. Thanks so much.
Oh my God.
Amazing, Dan.
Yeah, really.
Well, it is what it is as was recently quoted. And I am named after a prophet, and as you might know, and when I wrote this poem, I didn't think that I was writing an act of prophecy, but in the last 3 days, the gentleman in the White House has shown that I have more insight than I thought. This is based upon a storyline that came out a few weeks ago of a group of bikers and truckers with guns traveling across the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, flying their Trump flags. It came 2 days after the end of the RNC final day of the convention, and 1 day after Al Sharpton's march in Washington. So these people wanted to show the bluest of the blue city, San Francisco, that the Trump people were everywhere. They also, by going over the Golden Gate Bridge, they were marching over a bridge that, for many of us who've ever lived there, and I lived there years ago, know of as a suicide bridge because more people have jumped off that bridge than any in the United States. So I call this poem Trump's Death Cult. We know it by name, the Golden Gate Bridge. Its magical mystery is imbued in how it shimmers, how out of its nightly mist it dances between droplets of sunlight, a sweetened simmer that seduces with its harsh arc of a contrapuntal insouciant death watch, an imponderable too unbearable for lofty San Franciscans to examine. Yet it invites with its intrepid, gory promise of infection, suggesting that he who traverses the alluring bridge either catapults to the hardened soils of Sausalito, or else is drawn into the thorny marshes of despair. We who once called San Francisco home know of the bridge's darkness, its suicidal sweetness harnessed only in whispers. For it is here, at the outer shores of the American continent, where desolation oftentimes claims its victory. Push west, young man, but what if the pursuit of an American dream is only folly? And what if this folly stirs up streams of vengeance in a caravan clog, a turgid procession, a riverway of the disgruntled, as the pride of pickups, rifles straddled across backs of trucks, creeps into the twilight's last gleaming, a dying tribe flying its flags of Trump, stars and stripes and bars. There's good people on both sides. We aim to breathe free and die, motorcycles of the brave. Yet it is entirely fitting for a caravan of dying souls to coalesce around a trickster's name. From sea to shining sea, they fly their flags of nihilism under the fake camouflage of patriotism. Prelude to a procession. Make America what again? Was it ever great? Why isn't it now? Besides, what is this folly of finding America? What have we all gone to look for? Take a knee. Don't tread on me. That's what they proclaim. Is the flag still there? Liberty on both sides? As if making history is a coloring book, a celebration of not making sense, a cacophony of mechanized groans pummeling the fleeting beauty that is San Francisco. What are we witness to? Maskless marauders enchanting with noise and a jangle of guns, a dangerous dance in an aerosolizing steam that lifts off the bay, in a contaminated celebration of sun and steel, and microbes, yes, microbes, that take corona root in the lungs and bloodstreams of those who would make America great again. A slow meander, a baton slog, an opiated prance, a carcinogenic crawl across a pearly bridge that is today Trump country. Pride-infested lungs turn habitat like microbial cities, Trump's caravan, a semblance of a corona contamination, while all the while horns sing as a gleam of guns reinvents the world through a porous wall. Build that wall of seeping microbes. As they straddle on the Golden Gate where the morning sun had already parted the city's fabled fog, steel limbs undressing, until the Trump Corona caravan transforms one of the world's wonders into an entrapment of sweaty men and trucks in a fury of blindness, coughing in their collective surrender that no one anticipates because no one ever gets sick, no one ever dies in Trump's delusion of America. Is the flag still there? The caravan screeching, "Make America great again," as a death march under a fusion of flags. Don't tread on me, horns blazing the birth of a nation. Is this raucous communal scream akin to righteousness? Or is it one of the many lies? An outlaw president beholden to gun-strapped vigilantes, where he surrenders his presidential aura to turn accomplice to a double murder under the guise of, if they don't look like us, shoot them. Break on through to the other side of this San Francisco stalk, all the while swimming in the shallows of hungry microbes. Fourth horseman hovering like a funeral director, pale as death, mingles in the march of truckers and motorcyclists, all celebrants, Trump flags flying. See that my grave is kept clean. The fourth horseman, pale as death, a presidential sleight of hand, showing his magic to those of us daring to read between the between. Fly the Trump flag as a cloth wall, banning all that's different, foreign, alien, as the microbial master demeans the lowest of his acolytes through the infestation of his greatest audacity. That with a gun in his hand, he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and they would follow him anyway. Life's goal is death. Maskless marauders making Trump's case that life's noblest pursuit is infection. Make America sick again. Fly the Trump flag high until the twilight's last gleaming snuffs out light in a fit of revelation. For when you cross the Golden Gate Bridge and pass beyond the wall he has built, you will learn that the fourth horseman is Trump himself, pale as death. Extending his incriminating hand, he will welcome you with ironclad charm into the inescapable entrapment of his death cult.
Well,
Thank you.
Yes.
Great,
Great, Dan.
very powerful and
yeah, really.
more true than ever, really.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you for having me. And I really love being on the same stage with Reggie Gibson. He is phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so our next spoken word artist is Joan Lang, who I actually don't know, but have heard great things about. She has been writing since she was 5 years old and continues to write throughout her life, driven by a commitment to environmentalism, equality, and human rights. She's been a spokesperson for UNICEF, worked with President Carter to promote solar energy and alternative fuels. And she writes, so she says, to open eyes and open lives. So Joan, welcome to our program.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. And we've just come through the high holidays. And now we're in Sukkot, where we're surrounded by community and open to introspection. And I'm just so honored to be among my comrades. I mean, Reggie and Dan, we've been to a lot of things together. And it's funny how it all works, because a lot of the poems I had thought about reading tonight were carried off in their words, and we sort of work as a unit without even knowing it. And I'm an actual fellow Tar Heel. I was born in Asheville, so that's wonderful to be a part of this group, and it just makes me feel so supported as we go through what we're going through. Poetry has really kept me going the entire time, and I'm writing a series of books about my experiences with the COVID-19 as we go through the journey. And I'm going to I have 3 poems and a song tonight I'm going to do together as a series. And it's a bit of a time traveler because one of them is from this summer, but 2 of them are from last year at about this time. And again, like Dan said, they're sort of didn't know I was prophesizing, but apparently these things have come to pass. And I just want to share them with you if they came through me, and here are my thoughts. Catalyst of humanity. On 5/25, a man died by another man's need for power. 5 days later, the world watched another defining hour. SpaceX, yes, every action has an equal and opposite one. And now a man is dead, and SpaceX is alive because of it. Gravitational reactions blowing the lid off the universe. The status quo insanity that deems it okay to dig one's knee into a breathing man's neck until he can no more has pushed us to the brink. The world can think of nothing else. 2,000 kilonewtons and 1 Raptor propelled 2 astronauts to the sky. Another Raptor dressed in a uniform of blue blew inhumanity sky high. The everyday blindness to being ripped apart and having a heart not start again just because of what a person believes or the color of his skin will no longer win. The world has eyes to see. The entire globe is watching. Technology capturing every moment. Just as we remember when we stopped and watched that very first step on the moon, we know that this giant step will be for all mankind until finally there is the kind of respect for every person you see that accelerates safety instead of fueling the need to manifest that one is better than all the rest. Forest for the trees. It's August 2019. Horrific events, transactions are being remembered and created, left unabated before our eyes. Like a scene in one of my middle of the night science videos, Richard Attenborough seems to be looking at us. Through a sharper lens, there's no screen to separate us. He is at our kitchen table, giving us the same bad news, but quietly fierce this time, gesturing out our window in his inimitable way. All of this, everything you see here, will one day be gone. All of it. The Amazon is burning. Our lungs are choking with lines of fire, like arms outstretched, yet not in love. In the anger unleashed when one is tarred and feathered. Not only do we abuse Mother Earth, we cajole her. How much can she take and still rake our fields? Why do we need so much? We only need each other. Greed separates us like no other, which is why our mother weeps this August 2019. And Americans descended from those who were lashed into boats and dashed away from their African homes are remembering those that survived the trip, only to have their souls and families ripped. They are standing on that first shore in Virginia, where we sipped and broke the cup. And on another shore, in yellow headdress and banana leaves, we see Amazon Aboriginals assembled in a similar fashion. A woman steps forth. She asks us to leave these lands to those who know them, and the trees will be green again. Respect each other's cultures, and we can all survive. Who knew the slogan for the 2020 election had already arrived? I'm sorry. You dropped your beer can on the road, which was paved over me next to a cemetery. You spilled toxic waste all over my skin, my arteries, my veins, so you could retain an insane sense of separateness. You filled my body with things you no longer need. You strangled me with pesticides so you could feed yourselves, and poisoned cows so you could pour milk on your cereal. Your plastic is melting faster than you imagined, heated by gases so that your lives could hum along smoothly until they will no more. For there is no more for me to give. I come from the same elements, but without me, you no longer live. I shall go on dragging along for a while until time takes you away, and I stay till who knows what will roam on me next. Yes, I'm sorry. Even if you never uttered those words from your lips, is too little, too late. I have a date with destiny. Oh, how I wish you could come with me. She's faced the hardest times you could imagine. And many times her eyes fought back the tears. And when her youthful world was about to fall in, each time her slender shoulders bore the weight of all her fears, and a sorrow no one hears still rings in midnight silence in her ears. Let her cry, 'cause she's a lady. Let her dream, for she's a child. Let the rain fall down upon her. She's a free and gentle flower growing wild. Be careful how you touch her, for she'll awaken, and sleep's the only freedom that she knows. And when you look into her eyes, you won't believe the way she's always paying for a debt she never owes, and a sorrow no one knows still rings in midnight silence in her ears. Let her cry, 'cause she's a lady. Let her dream, for she's a child. Let the rain fall down upon her. She's a free and gentle flower growing wild. She's a flower growing wild. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Beautiful words, beautiful singing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've brought our attention to the fourth or fifth pandemic. I lose track, but it's the pandemic of climate, which is deep beneath all of this and sometimes gets lost. But thank you for raising our consciousness about it.
Well, I was thinking about it because, again, at this time last year, the Amazon was burning. It was the 400th anniversary of the slaves coming to the United States. And Emmett, which is the word for truth in Hebrew, is, Emmett Till was the first person who sparked the civil rights movement. And there was also some horrific
Mm.
anti-Semitic things going on locally as well. There was a Jewish-owned business where they found anti-Semitic words, pro-Trump words, and a noose and a machete.
Mm.
And then I was driving along, and I saw in the poem, the I'm Sorry poem, I saw this man throw the beer can out, and there was just this, and I felt like Mother Earth needed to be heard.
Yeah.
I always feel it, but it was just this explosion of the entire combination of everything. And I appreciate the forum, and I appreciate being among like-minded people. And every person that I've seen in all of the shows is just so beautiful. And I thank you for being you.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for being you and joining us in this show,
Absolutely.
making a contribution. So I'd like to remind everybody, do a little promo for the Biden-Harris campaign, for which this concert series is raising funds for, and to go to the Musicians for the Greater Good website, www.musiciansforthegreatergood.org, and press the donate button and make a contribution. Only 28 days left to the election, and I'm sure that the Biden-Harris campaign will appreciate our support. So our next performer is Chris Robbins, who I also have not heard, but my colleagues know him. And they gave me a short biography of him, which simply says that Chris Robbins is an eccentric artist who celebrates individuality, racial and gender equality, and promotion of autistic spectrum acceptance. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about him, and I went onto his Facebook page and I pulled down, and he convinced me that he's a cool guy, because on his Facebook page is a list of the most banned books from public libraries and schools in the US, which include To Kill a Mockingbird, Catcher in the Rye, Fahrenheit 451, and others. So I'm looking forward to hearing Chris Robbins. Welcome to our show, Chris.
Well, I thank you very much, Ron. It's an honor and a pleasure to be part of this production. And I got one poem and one song for you tonight, and I have my contribution to coronavirus poems, and this one's called Confiscated Playgrounds. We're landlocked and still shocked that everything that we ever knew turned upside down. We're quarantined in our bunkers like the population of mental cases this once proud nation has turned into, due to us behaving like spoiled brats with the lily white privilege of treating the parental word no like it's just a suggestion we can laugh off. To put this another way, we had it coming for ages. COVID-19 confiscated our favorite playgrounds, and chances are slim they will even survive, let alone return. But what do you expect when we stomped and screamed so hard for cheap garbage that we were even willing to push far enough into afflicted territory overseas to get what we want? The compassionate lifelines we would normally share with others are now potential threats. As we starve for the hugs we miss, we hope this is just purgatory, but it sure feels like hell. Hey, Mr. Counterfeit Christ of the Pass the Loot Ministries, what you gonna do now with a vacated palace of worship? Does your overinflated ego still forbid the possibility of donating it to the homeless for shelter? Yeah, on second thought, I'll settle for watching the shit show while the miserable campaign of our too big to fail king in chief starts to resemble an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Curse those meddling kids on TikTok, eh? I hope we learn from this. But judging by all the times people learned and unlearned the lessons of God in the book of Judges, not to mention all the typhoid Martins out there who still won't quarantine, I have my doubts. And before I share my reggae song with you, I want to quickly share with you a few song lyrics of a soul song I'm writing, because I want to try, just for the heck of it, I want to be somebody that tries as many different genres of music as possible. So share a little teensy bit of my attempt at writing a soul song. Love doesn't have to be a romantic score. There's an all-inclusive love that means so much more than a one-night stand or a superficial Valentine. Greet the world with a holy kiss, and you can fit some broken pieces back together again. So that's just a little sample of you. I'm still working. I still got to workshop the darn thing. I'm still working on it, but it is getting there. It's first drafted, and if you can get it started, you can complete it. Okay, so as for my reggae song, I'm right now going to attempt. I'm going to attempt tonight to see if I can patch the music into my phone. This of course, is going to mean turning my mic off, and but let's see how this goes. On. All right, I got my. Let's see if I can make this work. No. So I'm gonna see if I can bring the music to you this way, holding it close to the mic, and let me get my lyrics. I actually added a chorus since then, so. Oops. Here comes the music. You are what you hate. Mm-hmm. You are what you hate. They think they have the right to preach in our face all their holy pro-life distortions from the pulpit of the lily white executive club when they perform their own abortions by locking up children who don't conform and expelling gays, blacks, and Jews and cheering for a keeper of dragon wealth, even though they always watch him lose, 'cause you are what you hate. That's just how it all goes down. You think you're standing on a soapbox when you're riding on a merry-go-round. You might as well throw your hands up and tie-dye a Robin Hood, 'cause the way you're really going, all your chanting does you no good. It's a fact as old as history. When Joe McCarthy put our freedoms on a shelf, we became a rigid force fighting communism by becoming communists ourselves. It's as old as the demons who wore halos in Salem, who formed a fearful choir, chanting in the dark with a faulty candle, burning witches with devil's fire, 'cause you are what you hate. Mm-hmm. are what you hate. But I have to confess that I'm no better myself. When I give aid to people in need, I always keep track of what praise I get because I'm wrapped up in good-hearted greed. And don't forget the part-time bleeding hot guys who think there might be a chance if they play the cards right at a feminist march. They might get in somebody's pants because you are what you hate. That's just how it all goes down. You think you're standing on a soapbox when you're riding on a merry-go-round. You might as well throw your hands up and tie-dye a Robin Hood because the way you're really going, all your chanting does you no good. Yeah, yeah.
No, that was great.
Thanks,
Chris.
Chris.
Nice
Great.
job, my friend.
Go ask Chris.
Nice job.
Thank you very much, Chris. That was great.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
Love you, man.
Yeah, very good. All right, so next we have the privilege of welcoming Cheryl Perot, who is a poet, spoken word artist. She's the host of Wake Up and Smell the Poetry, where many people on this program have had the opportunity to perform. She's really a gifted poet. I've had a chance to work with her for the past year or so on a show that we do called Holy Crap, I'm Mortal. And I have a tendency to go dark in my the songs that I write, and she lightens up our show. So I want to welcome Cheryl Perot and look forward to hearing what you have to share with us this evening.
Thank you, Ron. And
All right, Cheryl. Good to see you.
thank you. You don't go that dark, Ron. So it's my pleasure to be here with everyone. And it's funny because last week I was thinking about raising my voice toward hatred that I feel so much and we hear so much in this country. And this week I shift toward love. So Chris, thank you for making reference to both the hate and then the love. And I love the reference to a holy kiss. And the way I see it in talking about love, that politics are embedded in that. And it has been my impression that we need to focus on love as powerful as a mother love. And that is the word that has been coming to me to get past the viruses of our society these days that we're facing, and not necessarily a literal mother. If we can envision that, sometimes that works with a newborn. Sometimes nature teaches us, such as with the Smithsonian panda parent now with the little baby, you can see on the nature cam and see the extent of the unconditional love. Or the movie of My Octopus, the Teacher, with octopus and man in the ocean embraced together. Or when we hear stories on TV or in the news of people who are total strangers to each other and they're reaching out their hands and helping each other in one way, that unconditional love is so important for us to think about as a remedy as we go forward. And it's not a topic that we're talking about this year in the midst of our viruses and suffering. I have not heard words of love come from the White House or the president, but love is a basic need for our humanity to get along with one another and survive. And that is probably why we've tried to teach about it throughout time, to save us. So I wanted to start off, I did get myself to write a poem, If I Were the President's Mother, but I have not finished it. But I have brought some quotes to get started of two poets, talented poets I know, who I've been learning from and dealing with very difficult life circumstances, yet preaching through poetry about love. One is a child survivor of the Rwanda genocide, and he witnessed his father's murder. And he held on to a lot of trauma and anger inside until he became a teen. And he's telling his story now in his early 30s because he changed in through education and sociology class, decided he didn't want to be a part of that cross-generational momentum of hatred that was escalating in Rwanda to that point of genocide. And he wanted to reroute toward love and peace building, and has been doing that through poetry and through plays and through helping people in the villages who were perpetrators and survivors. Now the descendants facing each other, building gardens together over in Rwanda, sharing cows for milk together, creating art together to perform, and also sharing it with the world beyond, and being invited as a peace ambassador too. And these are some words of one of his poems. I hold this key and share this key because it is the key of remembering that all together we can find a way to peace, a way to love, a way to forgive, a way to confess, a way to help the oppressed, a way to lift each other. There is a way. The other person I want to quote and acknowledge is a participant in Prison Behind Bars program that I know, who uses words in poems to write about peace and justice, love, and poetry. And I'd like to share these lines from one of the poems of his about love and how the power of love can be like the wind and offer hope. I felt this wind sweep over my skin. It breathed into my nostrils, and I was reminded that it was safe to dream again. This is when love gave me the wind I needed to breathe again. And breath is what we're focused on a lot this year through the COVID virus, right? And may we all let the wind of love help us to breathe stronger with care and compassion and unconditional love for one another. The first poem that I brought is thinking about children. It's very important in what we're dealing with to be thinking about our future generations. That doesn't come into the mix much, right? Our descendants, our future generations, children and grandchildren. And the thing is that there are so many children in our country, in our world, who suffer from different circumstances in their homes, in their family and communities for a number of reasons, and often with neglect and abuse and in poverty and stress and no stability. And they grow up in that way. And we have it come to address other broken systems, but we do not get too close to seeing how many of us as children grow up into the world and how we go forward. And that we need to start investing more of our time and mind and resources on our children and helping them to have a different environment to grow forward, because they are us, we are them, they are our future. And might not be as exciting as military budget or space wars or the nuclear bomb talk, but we need to care and be compassionate for all our children so we reduce the amount of suffering of the people who go on to serve in our world and be in our midst, perhaps leading us. We need a more peaceful world. And this is called Love is the Seed. When one seed of some small flower, let us call the one of we, is hurled out from the waters of its roiling mother sea, the seed afloat, how it listens to 1,000 sounds beyond, until eventual arrival into the weight of mother's arms, saying, here I am to all the earth, waiting for the songs of afterbirth. We all hope and we sing, let the blooming begin. A little seed now can examine and take the new world wide in, with so much of life that now comes spinning and surrounds its newborn feet and stems. Oh, how the little seed does in earnest reach its mouth to mother, to cry, to sing, to coo, hoping to receive her love and the longed for tending to. We all hope and we sing, let the blooming begin. After many a fall and rise of the constant moon and sun, little seeds, new stem so high, while leaves stretch wide to everyone. Little seed's mass of brilliance makes the world pause to catch its waiting, bated breath, while love pours out like the rain pours down, like a wild, welcome deluge that brings the water to nurture another, soon to arrive from the sea of a mother. One more time, we hope and we sing, let the blooming begin. And may it be all of our work.
Beautiful, Cheryl. Thank you.
Just yesterday, I believe we lost 425 people in our country to COVID, 210,000 this year. Yesterday, another Black man killed by an officer trying to break up a domestic dispute. People dying from the fires and the flooding of our climate change country. As we have been divided and intimidated and have an absence of guidance to feel this past year. All the dead we have lost this year, we're not talking about. Let's talk about them. Let's remember them. Let's make sure we do our best to help care for and strive and prevent future deaths of our country, of all people, of all the world, of all races, religions, ethnicities, and ages, gender identities, and sexual orientations, and physical abilities that we all love as one. Let's remember when we have all stood together in the past times and pandemics and after wars and after 9/11, we helped each other and grieved each other and cried for one another. Let's feel the loss of people in the country and the world. Let us grieve all those who have died in this year and send love to their families. Let us remember and let us feel united in loss and grief and love for one another together now. And this piece is an old poem, and I wrote it when my friend told me how she had brought the ashes of her father-in-law with her husband to La Jolla in California to toss into the sea, as a number of other people had. And it was a beautiful story. And for the sake of remembering, I will share one of the verses of it. Emily is nearing 90 in her room of solitude at the nursing home, never knowing the process of aging would feel so dark and so alone. Now as she is here and she's finally dying with barely any energy left inside, to wonder, where is her daughter? Why hasn't she arrived? Wanting to feel her hand's gentle pressure and feel her soft lips kiss her goodnight. Mine fading in and out now, talking to her sister when she was 4, murmurs to her high school sweetheart and sees her dear mother through the floor. And then she sees a woman who says she's her daughter enter the doorway of her soon coming death as she exhales the relief and worry and what feels to be her final breath. And the next thing you know, she is being carried to the water's rippling tide, wondering, are these the strong arms of my daughter as she is lifted from up on high? She is an Olympian diver aiming downward. Her eyes shine open. It's not too late. Doing the high dive as she arcs and spirals and showing her beauty and her grace. Diving into the open arms of La Jolla that now dance with the happiness in her eyes as she spreads her arms outstretched as wings now to finally enter into the light. May we remember them. May we feel everybody deep in our heart. And
Wonderful.
poem is about 1 minute I have written recently, and it's called Connection. I am the multitude of stars. I am the multitude of all beings on this planet that I feel these days and love so much, like a last hurrah. Inside me, outside me, the deep raw beauty and all the offerings of this earth given so generously, and yet often we don't even see or know how very related we are to every single particle. Did I really know when I was younger like I know now, realizing with eyes open how short and precious this life here is? I think of the conversation I had with my 14-year-old niece this week. All of her mind and heart seemed wired into technology of her phone while we were talking. She asked, why is the earth so important? Why do we have to be so good to each other all of the time? I think back when I was in my 50s, just waking up to this good, deep question of how very connected we really are on this planet, while beside my wise ancient dog, taking a siesta in the deep green grass of the backyard, I think of the news of drilling for oil or the animals we're losing or all the toxicity from our wars. And discrimination and division having impact on the world's layers of ground and atmosphere, like Dr. Emoto's decomposing water crystals crying for the world. I think of when I was chanting in meditation group last night, Om Mani Padme Hum, and feeling like I was a tiny fleck of star in the galaxy, being there amidst billions and beyond, just resting in place and loving everything around me, just giving life the best I can. Thank you.
Whoa. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes,
That's so beautiful, Cheryl. Thank you.
yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
brought a little love into the proceedings. That was good. That was needed. So I want to turn to our next performer, Harlem 125, also known as Jamel Adams, who is a well-known local poet, spoken word artist in the Boston area. He also does work with young people, leading workshops, dealing with issues of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Several times in the last couple of years, Harlem 125 has been called to local high schools, colleges, and communities to help bring a calm and constructive unity after incidents of racial injustice have occurred. So Cheryl said, if we're doing this show, we have to have you on. So I'm really looking forward to hearing you. Let's welcome Harlem 125.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Every time they do share screen.
This is for Jonathan Price, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, Ahmaud Arbery, and the countless others that don't receive national media or social media attention.
Imagine going to church and getting shot. Imagine pulling out your wallet and getting shot. Imagine using your cell phone and getting shot. Imagine jogging and getting shot. Imagine falling asleep in your car and getting shot. Imagine having a broken taillight and getting shot. Imagine your child in the back seat when you get shot. Imagine being broadcast live on Facebook Live, bleeding out when you get shot. Imagine getting a description and getting shot. Imagine being handcuffed on the ground of a train stopping, getting shot. Imagine waiting for a friend in a coffee shop and called cops, put you out. Imagine being asked for trust you ain't got. Imagine college, graduating, celebrating, and getting shoved off the stage with that degree you just got. Imagine getting choked out for selling cigarettes until your nose loses snot. I mean, your snot box rock like you've been shot for being alive on a day that's hot. Imagine praying every day not to get shot. Imagine every blue uniform you see gives you flashbacks of getting shot. Are you tired of this? Imagine being tired of getting shot at. Imagine they tell your family you've been shot because they forgot to check the plot, forgot to apologize for adding you onto the family plot, forgot to locate a non-lethal spot to place the shot. Shots fired! Are you not entertained? Imagine being fired as a slave and then getting shot. Your love, getting shot. Running for freedom and getting shot. Becoming desensitized to getting shot, expecting to get shot, not being afraid of getting shot, being non-violent, yet prepared to get shot. Taking a shot at life and getting shot. Taking a shot at shooting back and getting shot. Then your family members get shot. Are there guns in heaven? Can you get shot in heaven? Can you imagine a place where you can go and not get shot? I cannot.
Wow, that was
Woo.
really powerful.
Wow.
Really powerful.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you so much.
Says we are.
That,
They scared of the slave in me, that I might not Snapchat, but Nat Snap. Avenge a couple of murderers, make a modern murderer out of me. Must be the hip hop. Cause that sway in my walk ain't hard rock, more hard knock like auction block. Like a god, the way folk pray upon me. Must be that black magic, that black power, that black girl magic, tragic mulatto gon' flow, Joe. Must be these rough hands. They dance. They dance like black toes singing for ground. First woman abused, black. Women most abused, black. Every woman abused. I guess they supposed to just forgive that, huh? I know they remember. You know when you wrong. Must be they memory. You don't forget your murders. Must be that need. That need to make America great again, huh? Proud boys. Ancestors be watching now. Must be this elixir. Cause no matter what I mix with, it becomes me. Got this kunta in my feet. These big lips, it's kinda their fault. They keep moving like music and letting anger slip out. Talking about hope and love and languages and tongues of the Taino and a Boricua. It's that brown liquor in me now. Tequila of they sins. This black brain. Banneker like science. Traffic light in my soul. Cotton gin origin and atlas of freedom. You don't die easy now. You don't die easy. They obsessed with my member and the size of it and not everything around it. Like a heart, dynamite for arms and legs that move mountains. My body moves generations. See, they Freddy more like Krueger and Flintstone. I Freddy more like Gray in DC. See, they want me to be just February now. Y'all know I'm January through December now. Jealous of how my skin get ashy now. They want me to lotion up and be smooth now. Must be my smile. Don't come that easy no more. Must be that gay in me. Like Tyson, Marvin, Bayard, rhythm, jangle my shackles like Beyonce, Beethoven, Bay watching me, transatlantic, frantic, at enlighten me, must be. Blackness. Friends and family, thank you for having this event. Thank you for the cause for this event. Let us not assume that we know the outcome of the upcoming election. It is important to participate. It is important to play a role. The most disrespected people on the planet are women. Of them, the most disrespected are women of color. Of them are black women. We say the name of Breonna Taylor. The way that verdict was handed down was not demonstrative of respect for her life. It was not demonstrative that Black Lives Matter. We have a responsibility to defeat injustice. Let us do what we must. It is our turn. Those who came before us did not quit, which is why we are here now. We must do what we have to do now for those coming after us. Let us come into the light, into the black light, the Nestle of purple, bruised beautiful, slow motion, suffocating white light, halo blinking, assault and battery in the darkness of video, Vaseline sweat, greasy everything, shadowless, blue curfews, confused. They don't love you. They don't love us. They don't love themselves. No name necessary. You know whom I speak of. No title necessary. Easy to recognize. Black light. Colored Clorox. We make the whites bright. 1 comma from grammar. The wop of wattage. Glisten. Side piece of justice. The devil texts we more than God. But God never leaves we. Offering of the angels. Black people are the gates of heaven. Come into the light. Be not afraid of your greatness. Bow to each other. It's like God recognizing God. She believes in herself. She finally sees herself like 7 bodies of water reflecting 7 bodies of blackness. That is black light. Like party, like skin, like come into this light, this black light, sweat black, black sweat pours generations, you know you black, right? Black light, like black eyes, black in, like opposite of black out in black light. Black out is impossible. Black out is impossible. Opportunities for blacks, more black ops, more black light like Moors are black. Black dynamite come into this black box and birth black life. Black life is black light. Let us be in the light, family. In the light. Be love. Be light. One heart. One love. One life. One people. One family. One heart. One love. One life. One people. One family. Take that with you. One heart, one love, one life, one people, one family. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that was so
Thank you so
beautiful,
much.
Alan.
Thank you.
For giving us,
Thank you so very much. Wow.
giving us that inspiring message.
Thank you,
And,
John. Thank
Let me
you.
just make one comment. If pray to God, the election is going to turn out positive and Trump leaves and Biden and Harris become president and vice president, we only have Black women to thank for that. So I want to try to, I don't want to try to, I want to bring back for our encore performance, our headline performer for the evening, Reggie Gibson. Before I do that, I want to make a little announcement that Musicians for the Greater Good on election night is going to hold a party, hopefully a victory party. And we're going to invite all of the performers on all of the shows that we've had since the end of August to come and join us and share a song or a spoken word piece. We'll also have election result updates, a little comedy, a little laughter, and hopefully we'll have a good time. And we'll send out information about how to hook up with this event if you're so inclined to do that. So now I'm very pleased to invite back Reggie Gibson to conclude our show, to lift us up and to take us on out.
All right, Reggie.
Thank you to everyone for being a part of this. I want to thank Harlem 125, Cheryl Perot, Chris Robbins, Joan Lang, MJ, Daniel Zambino, and of course, Karen, Neil, and Ron, who have been the worker bees putting all this together. Earlier, Dan, he spoke about being sort of prescient and predictive in his work without even knowing it. Before I read my piece, I'll read you two small little clippets from the poet of democracy, Mr. Walt Whitman, and I'll tell you about my piece and go into it. What Walt Whitman said was he wrote a very small piece called The President. And he says, and this is in the 19th century, everybody, all you are doing and saying to America is dangled mirages. You have not learned of nature, of the politics of nature. You have not learned the great amplitude, rectitude, impartiality. You have not seen that only such as they are for these states. And that what is less than they must sooner or later lift from these states. Walt Whitman, 19th century. And then he wrote to the states, why reclining, interrogating, why myself and all drowsing, what deepening twilight, scum floating atop the waters. Who are they, as bats and night dogs askant in the Capitol? What a filthy presidentiad. Are those really congressmen? Are those the great judges? Is that the president? Then I will sleep a while yet, for I see that these states sleep. For reasons, south, north, east, west, inland, and seaboard, we must surely awake. This piece that I'll read you, I got to read at the first ever invitation of humanists, secular humanists, to be part of a political campaign. And we were invited by the Biden-Harris ticket to open up a rally. And so it was a group of gathering humanists, secular. And I was asked to present something, and this is what I presented for them. And hopefully the energy from this and tonight will help to propel Biden and Harris over the finish line. In this story in which we are living, science is a joke and democracy a punchline. In this story we are living in, our leaders' mouths so often wound us into a civic sleep. In this story, we pretend we don't hear the shrill call of blood and soil, pretend we don't hear the rising white supremacist howl, that we don't see the police putting holes into those black boys. In this story in which we are living, it is so tempting to play the oblivious, so tempting that we barely notice how this story in which we are living begins living inside of us. We don't notice how it divides us, drives us against each other, how it makes us indifferent to the myriad ways we've learned how to make each other suffer. And sometimes, when we catch ourselves swaying in its swelling spell, we are tempted to turn away, ashamed of our own ugly. But we must not turn from it. This ugliness that has scripted so much of our history and our present. But today, let us refuse to let it script our future. Today, let us write that new story, a story in which we refuse to play the oblivious, a story where we rise up and fight the darkness of our worst isms, our sexism, our racism, our ageism, our ableism, our fascism, a story in which we voice the better isms of our nature, altruism, egalitarianism, volunteerism, humanism. A story in which we create other isms, like you have the right to remain black, innocent, and unshot ism. You have the right to not be harassed and sexually assaulted ism. You have the right to be educated well ism. You have the right to scientific fact ism. You have the right to have your vote counted ism. I will stop turning my back on your pain ism. I will stand up for the humanity of another ism. Let today be the day we write that story, the story of she, he, and they that live. A true patriotism. A patriotism that is deeper than ham-fisted swagger and bullying bluster. A patriotism not so easily stitched into clothing and made into a slogan. A patriotism that is ethically behaving, demanding its leaders are not just saying, but actively displaying that they believe all citizens of this nation are worth saving. A humanist patriotism that means caring enough for a child to make sure her hunger goes away. A patriotism guaranteeing health care now without delay. A patriotism driven by an administration with reasoned insight that knows it's right to ensure that all Americans can afford higher education, because a great nation knows that enriching each citizen intellectually effectively raises its people's collective capacity to think and consider critically, so that its democracy doesn't fall prey to a clownish and perverted brown-shirted inanity, into a hypnotic and demagogic insanity. A patriotism that is a lived civic virtue, one of compassion, one that demands we not only love America, but that we love Americans. And so today, let us write that new story, one in which we muster mind and will to fight the viruses in this country, the virus threatening the body corporeal and the virulent inhumanity threatening our body politic. A new story in which we rise to the climate's clear clarion call to prevent future fires from feeding on our forests, in which we together erase the ominous redness from our western horizon and block the black smock of smoke that aches our air. A story where we stand up for science and reason and accept that both our faults and fates are not in our stars, and that in ourselves is where the solutions are. Yes, we need that. This is where we, with battle-battered hands, will write that new story of this country. One in which we break down these walls they've erected between us. One in which we hold hands and heal each other of these broken legs we've all learned to limp with. One in which we move forward together, step by trembling step, into that welcoming, eye-aching light. Into an America reflecting with what we and our country know we can be. Expansive, accepting, humanly beautiful, and bright. Thank you all.
Thank
Oh,
Whoa.
stunning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Reggie.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for that.
Oh, my
Thank
goodness.
you. And also the thanks to Dan Zampino, Joan Lang, Chris Robbins, Cheryl Perrault, and Harlem 125, and also my colleagues, Mike Delaney, Neil Braverman, Steve Martin, Kathy Donlin, and I'm forgetting someone, but thanks to everybody who's made this great evening possible. We went deep and we were profound, and I'll remember this for a long time.
I think we all will, Ron.
Next week, Musicians for the Greater Good will return. We'll attempt to achieve the heights of this show. We have a terrific lineup of performers, headlined by Greg Greenway, Chris Wilhelm, Jan Luby, Ron Israel, who's he, Peg Espinola, and Sol Y Canto. So we'll see you all next week. Thank you again.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, everybody that performed.
Not at all.
Good night.
Thank you, Ron.
Peace.